Hello, this is a video response to the unforgettable people in your life. I'm going to try to go through this as quickly as possible because last time I tried to record this, I went over, so they cut me off. Okay, first of all are my parents, my mom and my dad. My mom is someone who will say what she feels, but she has a way of saying it to where you can't really respond or say anything after she has said something, and don't try to interrupt her because she will finish that statement. And also, she doesn't hesitate to go speak up for anybody. One time I was in the third grade and I had a bully that was picking on me. And so one morning at breakfast, I used to go to breakfast at school in the mornings. She came in there with me and was like, okay, now, which one of these girls been picking on you? And I'm like, why? But, I went on and told her. So she went up there and just called the girl out in front of everybody at the breakfast. I remember it got real quiet in there. And while my mom was basically telling that girl, leave me alone, I was just sitting there, like standing there behind her, going like this and looking at the tile floor because I was so embarrassed. But after that, the girl didn't mess with me anymore. I think she figured she didn't want that woman to come in there and talk to her again. So I would say that's one of the classic stories with mom. And I will always laugh and be like, Mom, you'd be a great politician and you'd be great, when it comes to doing debates, because you're going to finish that statement and you know what you're talking about every single time, and you always have a comeback. Always. Next is my dad. My dad is, in a way, completely opposite, almost, well, so to speak. He's very artsy, which, so am I. He can be quiet, very collected, serious. However, he's very outgoing. That's one thing that I'm not. I'm not very outgoing. I'm more shy than outgoing. I'm more outgoing than I used to be, but still work to be done. But anyway, he would be considered what I call a closet clown, and I say that because, out in public, he's very serious, but when he's around us or around people he knows, he is just as goofy as I don't know what. I remember things that he would do to my sister and I. He would have us, like one time we were in a restaurant and he had got some grapefruit juice, but my sister and I didn't know what that was. And so he was like, here, you should try this. This is really good. You'll like it. This is good. This is a good juice. I'm like, what is it? He's like, it's grapefruit juice. I was like, ooh, can I have some? And so he gave it to me. He gave it to me first. And so I took a sip of it and I was like, and Dad just got his kicks out of that because he wanted us to see, he wanted us to make that ugly face so he could laugh at us. And so even after I tried it, my sister still wanted to try it anyway, and she ended up making the exact same face that I made, and Dad was sitting there just cracking up, and my mom was sitting there just shaking her head like. And another thing that Dad would do is he would take our hands and either he would squeeze it real hard or he would take his thumbnail and kind of like try to dig it in like that and like try to push it up, and we would start going and so to be funny he would mock us. So while we were going he would do it at the same time, so it'll be like and then he would finally let go and laugh. Or another thing he would do was he would take our hand and like press really hard like on the back of our hand and press really hard right here on our thumb, and we would be like, Dad, stop. Dad, let go. Or he'd be like, okay, say sheesh me. And I don't know what that means, but I just knew that if we didn't repeat it, he wasn't going to let go, so we would have to repeat sleesh sneely or sneely. You would have to repeat that before he would let go of our hand. So he got his kicks out of that too, which looking back on it, it was very funny. And another thing that he would do is he would grab our shoulders this was when we were younger. He would grab our shoulders from behind and make us do the shoulder dance. He called it the shoulder dance. And he would make his own music like he would do that for a few minutes, or he would call us pineapple heads or whatever else. He would also make fun of my mom because my mom's light skinned, so he would say things like she looked like smoked turkey, her legs were a pair of popsicle sticks, she doesn't have a color line, she doesn't tan, or just things like that, just to make fun of my mom. My dad is dark skinned, my mom's light skinned, so that was always funny. And my mom would try to defend herself. I do have a color line. I'm not that light. I'm not light skinned. I remember one time I interviewed her for a paper about colorism, And I thought they were perfect because dad was dark skinned and mom was light skinned. So I was like, ooh, okay, I can get a light skinned opinion from mom. Mom was like, I'm not light skinned. I'm like, yes, you are, mom. So I thought that was funny. Moving on. The next person that I would say is unforgettable is my Uncle Butchie, just because he's one of those people where he doesn't try to be funny, but he is. And just stories that he would share with me about his days in New York back in the 80s, all hilarious. He would tell us like how they would leave one club and go right to another one and stay there all day, and they all go to this place and have breakfast and be up, all that day and do the same thing the next night. I'm like, how'd you get any sleep? Or he told me a story where he dyed his hair bright red. This is back when he had his afro. Dyed his hair bright red, and before he went home for the weekend, he would dye it back black so my grandmother wouldn't yell at him about it. And then there's other stories where he pierced his ear and tried to hide it, stuff like that, just hilarity. Um, so I look up to him because he's not doing any of that anymore. But even just the simplest story of him being at home is funny. Like one of his popular stories, he would tell me, and I'm gonna say it like how he would say it. I was looking in the mirror the other day and I looked at myself and I said, man, you are really getting in bad shape. You're really ugly. And I just thought that was so funny that he would even say that about himself. And he just kind of said it in passing. That's what made it even funnier. The next person I would say is unforgettable will be my Aunt Emma, because she laughs at any and everything. And something doesn't even have to be funny. She can look at you and laugh. And one of her famous traits would be she would find something on you, whether it be a body part or something you're wearing, and continually comment on how ugly it is. One time in middle school, I had these velvety aqua pants. And I can admit now, back then, yes, or now that they were ugly, but back then I liked them. I wore them one day to Indianapolis, where she used to live, and she was like, where did you get those ugly pants? Those are really ugly. Aren't those some ugly pants? Those are really some ugly pants. And she just started laughing. I'm like, okay, Emma, I get it. You don't like them. They're ugly. And she also did the same thing with these sandals I had. She called them the basket weaving sandals because they kind of look like a basket. They were made out of like the basket material. So she would say they were ugly about that. She said one of my cousins had a big head. She laughed about that for about 20 minutes. She said my sister had fat earlobes. So she laughed about that for like 30 or 20 minutes. She said one of my other cousins had a fat big toe and would laugh about that. So she would just find the strangest things to point out and laugh about, or she would just look at you and laugh for no reason. And so you're kind of like, Emma, what's so funny? And she'd be like, it's a free country. I can laugh if I want to. Okay. The next person is my husband, Justin, just because he's crazy. And he's crazy and he's very, very hyper. Like, he likes to run around the apartment trying to find the magic. Now, what that magic is or does, I have no idea. And I don't even think he knows. So I'm just like, okay, well, good luck with that. Let me know if you ever find the magic. Or he'll say that I have a mouth in the back of my neck and I talk like this. So, I don't know. He just said stuff. The next person would be my sister. My sister is a lot like my Aunt Emma. They just say any and everything without necessarily thinking first. My sister is the complete opposite of me. I'm very quiet and shy. She is not. I'm little. She is not. I'm the oldest. She's the youngest. So she's my little sister. But looking at her, you would think she's the big sister and I'm the little sister. But that's not the case. But we would have very long conversations about whatever. We would call each other and vent if something or somebody was getting on our nerves. With her, it's mostly Dad, because she and Dad are always going at it. I think it's hilarious because they're just alike. Usually, if you're just like someone, you're going to argue and fight. But the thing that I got made fun of the most between Aaron and I, or my parents would always talk about how I would sit there and try to have very serious conversations with her, and she would sit there and listen, and I'm like, really? Because Aaron, like my husband, are just hyperactive, always bouncing off the walls and saying stuff. And so you would think after doing all that, they wouldn't have time to sit and try to listen to somebody trying to talk to him. But she listened to me, so I kind of thought that was funny. But she's my best friend, though. We have a good time. So before the time runs out, before I get cut off again, I just wanted to share with you those 6 people that are unforgettable in my life. And I hope that you find them funny, because I sure do. So, bye-bye.